Hi. Uh Hope everybody's good. I've had a lot of time off the past few weeks of work. Um like 3-day stretches, which has been great. However, I'm exhausted. And that's one of the things that's weird about mental health, right? Is like even when I feel like I'm in a good place with work and have been able to like find a new sense of peace with it, and I've had some time off, like I think one of the big things that I've realized is that my circumstances do not always dictate how I'm going to feel. And a lot of my fatigue, I think, is tied up in like having so many feelings during the day. And having everything to me feels like it has a greater association. So spending money has this greater association to like my role in capitalism and how I feel about my own financial responsibility and um just all these other bigger things rather than just like the moment and using money as a quick dopamine hit and getting a thing that I want and all those things. So I could talk about any one of those things that I just mentioned like at length, but the point that I'm trying to make is that I'm just exhausted because all of those like other associations and all these sort of background programs in my mind and all of the emotional like things that I have tied to all of those meanings and different things exhausts me. It wears me out. So I'm just tired and I haven't been sleeping as well this week. My anxiety has been worse this week, and I've just noticed like how my ADHD has been affecting me. Um, which now when I can observe those behaviors through the lens of ADHD, which I wasn't able to do before, I feel like I have a better understanding of who I am and why I am the way that I am. Again, not that a diagnosis like is a cure all or explains everything, and it's certainly not an excuse to not keep working on myself and trying to be a better person and friend and any number of, monikers you want to slap on somebody. Um so all of that to say, I'm still feeling good despite the fact that I'm tired, despite the fact that I still feel like I'm fighting off illness all the time these days, just because work is physically demanding. But there's a lot that work is just good for me. Like, I'm just built for the service industry, and I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be for the time that I'm in of my life. Um, so, anyway, but I think the thing that I wanted to talk about tonight specifically is that I have been playing video games. One of them is open on my monitor behind me because I brought my PlayStation back into my room. I have a PS5. Ooh. And then wait, it's right here. Let me get it. Hold on. Today, I impulsively bought a Game Boy Advance SP on Facebook Marketplace. It's not in great condition. I definitely spent too much money on it. But the real sort of gem that I was after is a copy of Pokemon Fire Red, an original Game Boy copy. And it's funny, you can like feel it's a little loose in there, but like it still works great. And the Game Boy itself, like I said, is not in perfect condition. It's got some scratches and bite marks. Looks like somebody's dog got into it. But I really love old things. And to me, it's crazy that this piece of tech, which, yes, one of my cats is here and he wants me to come to sleep because it's late and I'm coming soon. But I'm talking to the people, the like three of them who watch these or whatever. Um, anyway, to me, it's amazing. This piece of tech has a 2002 patent on it, and the fact that this is that old and it still works. And I had one of these when I was growing up. I had the blue one. Um, but it's so nostalgic for me. The noise, and two, everything about it. Because I had tried to play Pokemon Emerald on an emulator with my ex. because he loves the Pokemon games. And I didn't really grow up with them. Like, I think it was maybe, I don't think my parents had like a specific objection to Pokemon, but I do think it was kind of like an osmosis of the culture that I grew up in, because a lot of evangelical Christians were not fans of Pokemon and like banned it because of the evolution thing, which is so silly. And if you like, the thing that cracks me up about that is like, if you engaged with this for even 1 second, you would realize that it's just a really, it's so not a big deal, but just because the word evolution was used, it's like this knee jerk reaction, and we have to ban all the Pokemon stuff. I don't know. Anyway, so I was playing that today, and I love it so much more than the emulation I'd used in the past, because you're playing it on the console for which it was intended. I mean, the original Game Boy Advance and then the SP, which is a slightly different version. Again, I have nostalgia for the SP specifically, but but like, it just, I was about to cry for real playing this game because, okay, a few different things. First of all, the foremost important thing, I guess, that I want to express right now tonight is that I love video games. I love them. Like, I really do. And there are so many different reasons for that. I think, it's one of the newest artistic mediums that we have, and I think it's so beautiful that there was this emerging technology with personal computers, and there were a bunch of people who the first thought they had was, how do I make art with this? Which is so fucking cool. It's so cool. And I think right now, every artistic medium has really stagnated under late stage capitalism, because we're trying to make things as appealing to as many people as possible, to sell as many units as possible. And AAA games have gotten so big, and I think too, in a lot of ways, they really hold your hand, which can be nice, but at the same time, like, one of the things I love the most about engaging with old school games is that because you only owned a couple of them, you could probably only buy a couple games a year. If you were a kid and you were begging your parents to get you games or whatever, like, you had to sit with that game and learn it, and every nook and cranny, and they didn't need to hold your hand because you were willing to sit down and take the time to learn something and spend the time with it. I mean, you know, and another thing too, when I played the Pokemon emulator, I didn't know about, there's all this extraneous content in this game that is not the main game. It's all in the menus. There's all of this walkthrough tutorial. There's all these different, I didn't engage with any of it. And I had also played some of the modern Pokemon games, so I obviously have the cultural understanding of it as well. But there's stuff in the menus here that's like, what is a Pokemon? And it explains to you through very brief text, like, what's going on, going on in this world. But for the most part, the expectation is that you would sit down and you would play it and you would learn it. And I'm also playing right now on my PlayStation, PS5, a game called Tunic that I believe came out in 2017. I could be wrong about that, just off the top of my head. So you can fact check me, but it is so good. It really harkens back to old school game design, in the sense that it just throws you in. And apparently the designer was very inspired by old school game manuals. I guess especially ones that were written in a different language, because one of the mechanics is that you're finding these different pages of a tutorial booklet, but you can kind of only get little snippets of information here and there. There will be like a couple English words and sort of pictographs and maps and things, but you kind of really have to like try and decipher it, and there's so much ambiguity, and the player has to fill in a lot of information and just trial and error and go out and do it and figure it out. And then the actual combat is very like, you're getting from point A to point B. There's all these enemies in between. We're not going to give you too much of a tutorial. We're not going to give you a lot of information. You just have to get there. And it's kind of like, to me it's fairly difficult, like real time sort of hack and slash combat. Like, you have an attack, you have a defense with the shield, so it's kind of a Zelda like. Some of the gameplay reminds me of like a Soulsborne type of game, a little bit, but the art style is adorable and all of that. But it's so clear that the designer of this game like really loves old school games and design, and is really paying homage to it. And the scope of this game of Tunic is very, it's relatively small. Like it's an ambitious project for what it is, especially for an indie developer. And I'm having such a great time with it. But it's like doing a lot with its concept, and it's charming and it's sweet, and the art style is adorable, and the music is really chill and cool. The lighting is great. I love lighting in games and movies and stuff, just any visual media. So anyway, clearly I'm having a great time. Um and just like paying attention and enjoying all the details, and the way that, like, Pokemon was designed with certain constraints in this specific hardware, right? And like it had to work around certain things with the music and the visuals, but that gives it its charm. And so, what I was talking about earlier with the emulator, of like, it's not quite the same, because when you play the emulated version, people talk about this all the time, but when you take, like, old school, like 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit graphics and put them in like a modern situation, it just doesn't have the same charm on the screens that we have. And it's the same thing I've been talking about with like lo-fi video, and like just the rise of lo-fi tech, which for me, like, that's very much in a niche of the internet that I'm on. I don't know how many people like are engaging with that outside of my bubble that I exist in, but like I think there really is a return to like film and, again, lower fi technology, because there is a charm to it, in the way it looks and sounds and feels. And to me, like, the feeling of playing this game and the look on the original hardware for which it was intended, it's a, it's such a different experience, and it's so beautiful. And the graphics are a little fuzzier, and there's like, the screen is only so big, and it's not like great graphics. It feels like a little miniature world almost. It's the same feeling I used to get when I would play Polly Pockets, with Polly Pockets, which were like really little tiny mini dolls. um Scale is really interesting to me, like things that are really big or really really small. So anyway, this is just so fascinating to me. But the other thing is, it's not connected to the internet, it has no updates. It's just, you can see how simple the technology is as you play it, in a way. And like, there's a charm to that, because everything is so, with AI and how everything is connected to the internet, and everything just sucks now technology wise. And it's like so complex that nothing works. It feels like there's such again, I use the word charm to sitting down with this thing that fits in the palm of my hand. And again, really simple tech of like, I just plug this little cartridge, and it works. And I can see the sort of edges of the game design and how much they were able to do. But when I was a kid, like, I was playing like shitty licensed games. Like, that was a lot of my experience with video games. I didn't engage with a lot of like the super mainstream stuff. I think because like there was this perception that it was for boys, or I was focused on other things or whatever. And so now I'm like, oh my god, this is what AAA games were like in 2004 when this came out or whatever. Like, this is as cutting edge and expansive and as big of a scope as the developers could manage for this hardware. And that's really fucking cool. And it's crazy because I've worked in games for so long. Like, I was a games journalist, and I love, love, love this medium. And I came at it from a narrative perspective. And so it sort of took me a little while to get in on like how cool the tech side of it is, and the game, like the game design part of it is, outside of the narrative, like artistic thing, which all of that is artistic in and of itself. Anyway, so I guess the larger point that I'm coming to here is that clearly I'm really excited about video games. And that makes me really emotional because um when I was in college, I got really into games. I've said I've grown up with them, and I would watch my neighbors play and my brother play and my dad play, and I had some handheld consoles like an SP and a DS, but it never felt like I never felt a real ownership over games. I don't know why. Um and then when I was in college, I got really into games and uprooted my entire life to move to California and try and be a writer and to work in that industry with the ultimate goal of working at Naughty Dog. And I did it. Like less than 2 years after I said that was my dream, I did it. And I went out there and just encountered so much life that I really needed in a lot of ways, but it broke me for sure. Um and so then I I just kind of had to survive it, and I didn't know what to do, and I was just really confused and lost. And I moved back here 3 years ago this month. That being to the East Coast and to home. And really ever since I left Naughty Dog, I was there for a little over a year. I um just didn't want to play games at all. Like it was just I was burnt out, and I had just been through some stuff, and I didn't want to play games anymore. And I put them away. And I've spent the last 3 years just vibing out and surviving and reading a lot. I've been reading a ton. I've already read like 20 something books this year. And I want to read a lot more, and I want to keep writing a lot. I've been really trying out a writing schedule every day. I'm trying to write at least a page, if not 1,000 words, every single day. This is very new, but I'm at the point now. Baku wants to go to bed. I'm almost done, buddy. I promise. And it's raining outside. That was a flash of thunder or lightning. I love summer thunderstorms. Okay. Anyway, focus. So, I have been now reading enough. This was all part of my plan. I always have a plan. I was reading a ton and have been reading a ton, and started reading every single day. And now the written word doesn't feel so strenuous and scary, and it just feels natural. And so now jumping onto the page has felt a lot easier. So I am now starting to incorporate writing every day, trying to, in the same way that I've incorporated reading every single day. See, I'm building the skills. I'm doing it. I'm so fucking proud of myself. Oh my god. Anyway, okay. So now, like just the past week and a half maybe, I started playing Tunic, which is slow going, but it's something. And I just got this Game Boy fucking today. But games are exciting to me again and joyful in a way that I knew I would return to, but like I really wasn't feeling for a few years, which was hard because like I said, I uprooted my whole life to pursue this medium. I love games. So I could say a lot more, and I probably will at some point, but right now, like, again, things are always difficult. Like, I struggle with my mental health, and it is a real effort every day to take care of myself. But I see how excited I am to actually play games. I don't feel like I'm forcing myself to do it. I'm having so much fun spending time and getting to know these games that these people have created. That was the other thing I was going to say too, I think, is that like I'm such a passionate person. This is who I am right now. I've had a beer and a half, and I'm just feeling like I can speak freely, I guess. And I'm someone who really loves things really hard. And I think that's what a lot of the video games industry is. Like, it's people who love this medium like I do and are fascinated by, creating systems to engage with and learn and secrets and adventure and like all of that. And I feel like Tunic really encapsulates that. I feel like Pokemon really encapsulates that, you know. It was one of the original games to like really nail that feeling. And so, did you hear the thunder? Ooh, I love a thunderstorm. Anyway, sorry. Um, so all this to say, I'm so proud of myself. So proud for continuing to develop good habits. And I don't want to make too big a deal of the video game thing right now because I don't want to freak myself out about it, but like, to me, it is a really good sign that I feel this way right now because games can demand a lot of you. They demand a lot of attention. They demand a lot of, like, in some ways, dedication. In the same way that a book requires dedication to, like, you have to sit down and commit yourself to finishing it, and books can already be hard because the process of understanding the text can be difficult if you're reading, something that's more demanding of you, like a classic novel, which we already know I love. In the same way that games, a lot of them have a certain level of difficulty in that, playing them is not easy. Getting to the next point, getting to the next checkpoint, defeating the enemies, like in Tunic, or like in Pokemon, can be difficult. And that's the point. And, to tie it back to kind of a cultural moment that we're in with AI, like this sense of, everything needs to be convenient, everything needs to be easy. Look how easy it is. Look how easy it is if you just do it like this. We need friction. And a million people have been talking about this on the internet for a while now, but we need to feel like we're challenging ourselves and we need to be pushing ourselves and growing, and then we can see how far we've come, and it makes you better. It makes you smarter. It makes you more well-rounded and cultured, and you understand more of the world around you and all of those things. And I think great literature does that, and I think great video games do that, and other media does as well, just great art. Anyway, so I am trying to keep doing what I'm doing and taking care of myself and being kind to myself, and I need to get some rest because I can feel how tired my body is. But I just wanted to document this moment on this wonderful rainy evening because when you finally decide that it's time to keep moving forward, and when you decide that it's time to make your life better and to get the fuck up and stop wallowing and find your new thing that fucking lights you on fire, like, I feel like I've done that. And I'm excited. I'm so excited to keep pursuing my writing career and my game design career and my hobbies and my interests and fucking loving on my people, and just like, I'm excited to be part of the world. I'm excited to be here and like just pour myself into the people and the things that I fucking care about, And for a long time, I didn't want to be here. And I've expressed that here. So, sorry for the waterworks, but I'm I'm just proud. I'm proud of myself, So, anyway, I am going to call it a night. I hope everybody is good and happy and healthy and taking care of themselves. And I know the world is fucking crazy. Just keep fighting for the things that are special to you and make you feel like it's worth being here. We can do this. We can do it. Okay. I'm gonna go. It's late. Have a good night. I will talk to you soon. Bye.